Virginia's most powerful station, WVIR-TV, NBC 29.
We now join our regularly scheduled program already in progress.
To test this ground ball off the bat of Jeff Conine. And then the ground ball from Moises Alou gets past Jones. Here we see Lofton failing to catch the ball off the bat of Sheffield. In all, 5 unearned runs for the Marlins. Tom Glavine pitches very similar to Greg Maddux. He needs a good defense behind him.
Let's talk about those pitchers, beginning with Glavine.
Well, it's Tom Glavine to try and get the Braves even today. He's a pup out of Greg Maddux. Features a fastball, curve, and an occasional changeup. He's one of those guys that just won't give in to you. Basically stays away, away, away. Occasionally, he'll come inside with a fastball. On the other side, it's Alex Fernandez, a right-hander. You can classify him as sort of a power pitcher. He's got the basic 4, fastball, curve, change, and slider. And every once in a while, he has a tendency to get wild, Bob. You've got to be patient with him.
He was effective against Atlanta this year, 2-0 against the Braves. Now we'll come back in just a moment with the lineups, and there's an important note there. We'll hear from Jim Gray on a change for Florida. Moises Alou is out. We'll turn to Jim for the explanation when we come back.
Virginia's most powerful station, WVIR-TV, NBC 29.
In fact, Leland went on to say that depending upon the results of the MRI, that Alou may not in fact be available this weekend. They'll just have to wait and see. Now, this is a big, big loss for the Marlins because it takes 121 RBIs out of their lineup. Jim Eisenreich will start in his place. Bob?
Okay, Jim, thanks very much. And here's the rest of the lineup for the Florida Marlins, and there's a change at the top. Craig Counsell doesn't start against the left-hander. Instead, it's Kurt Abbott at second base, followed by Renteria. Sheffield having a good postseason so far. Bonilla in the cleanup spot, and then Conine. Eisenreich slips into the 6th spot, vacated by Alou. Johnson, the catcher. White, who hit leadoff last night, drops to 8th, and Fernandez, the pitcher. And the scouting report on Tom Glavine.
Well, Tom Glavine, good fastball and curve. Every once in a while, a change of pace. And will not change his pitching pattern for any hitter. Basically tries to stay away. Occasionally will come inside with a fastball if need be for a strikeout once in a while. This is one of those guys who just will not give in to you.
The defense behind him.
And this defense did not play very well last night for Greg Maddux, and they have a similar type pitcher on the mound today. 5 unearned runs by the Braves, so they will have to play much better today behind Tom Glavine.
McGriff booted the first one. That loaded the bases on a ball hit by Conine. And then Alou followed with a ball down the third base line that was not ruled an error. It was a 3-run double, but Chipper Jones admitted afterwards that he should have at least stopped the ball. If not making the play, at least kept it on the infield, which he didn't do. Lofton, who has been a Gold Glover the past several years and earned a reputation for spectacular defense with the Indians, ran a ball hit by Sheffield down at the fence, but then couldn't hold it, and that was charged as a 3-base error, and began a 2-run inning and 2 more unearned runs. Kurt Abbott will start it off. He hit .274 for the year. He'll be followed by Renteria and Sheffield. Swing and a miss. Late afternoon. Starting time a bit after 4 o'clock here in Atlanta. Bright sunshine. And it could be a problem for the outfielders as the shadows advance. The shadows right now just out beyond home plate.
So at this point, it becomes a little problem for the hitters because they're looking into the bright background, and then the last 15 feet, there is no sunlight. The 1-1 pitch. Fouled off. The plate umpire is Charlie Williams. And as we mentioned about Bruce Fleming last night, the way he interprets the strike zone will be very important, especially to Glavine, who is a master at taking an inch on the outside corner, and then 2, and then 3 or more if you let him. And make no mistake about it, each umpire has his own individual strike zone.
Here's what I talked at the top of the telecast, Bob. The fact that he's just going to stay outside. He'll run that fastball away from a right-handed batter, and he'll stay that way. I mean, it's amazing how many times this guy goes to 3-ball counts but still stays away from a right-handed batter. Look where Lopez sets up.
His 2-2 pitch is hit down to Chipper Jones, and there's the first out. Edgar Renteria apparently little the worse for wear, but look what happened to him in the stretch of an inning and a half last night. First he gets spiked at second base. Then he's hit by a pitch. Then he sprints for the plate, tagging at third. He's thrown out by Michael Tucker in a collision with Javi Lopez, to whom he gives away about 30 pounds.
That was a bad couple of innings for Renteria last night.
Ball one high to him. Charlie Williams has the plate. Mike Winters at first. Jerry Lane at second. Big Eric Gregg at third. Frank Pulley on the left field line. And Bruce Fremming, who worked the plate last night, calls the plays in right field this afternoon. Hit into shallow center. Lofton coming on. Has it.
Lofton gets such a great break on the ball. When that ball was hit by Renteria, it looked like it might fall in short right center, but Lofton got a great break on it and caught it easily.
With 2 out and nobody on, the hitter is Sheffield, who has 4 career home runs in 29 at-bats against Glavine. Glavine generally has not done well against Florida. A loss and a no decision in 2 outings this year. 5 and 6 overall for his career. 1 and 4 the last 2 seasons. And this year, at least, that extends to most of the Atlanta staff and roster, considering the fact that with their win last night, Florida has now won 9 of 13 against Atlanta head-to-head. 1-1. Despite that, the Braves still finished 9 in front of Florida in the Eastern Division. 1-2. Florida thus becomes the first National League team ever to get as far as the LCS as the wild card. Baltimore did it in the American League last year. The Yankees were on the verge of doing it again this year until Cleveland rallied. No wild card team has ever made it as far as the World Series. In this, the 3rd postseason played under this format. The 1-2 pitch. Jones again. On to McGriff, and Glavine works a perfect first. The Braves take their first swing when we come back. Welcome back to Turner Field. Here's Bobby Cox's lineup for Game 2. Essentially the same, except Javi Lopez, who pinch hit for Eddie Perez in the bottom of the first last night and essentially played the whole game, is in from the very start tonight. He was set up with the bases loaded and grounded out on the first pitch to end the inning against Kevin Brown, leaving 3 of the 5 he left for the night on that one swing.
And here's Alex Fernandez. Has all the pitches, all of them above average. Good fastball, good curve, slider, change. When he has this control, he's almost impossible to hit. And let's take a look at this defense behind him. Big change, of course, is Eisenreich in left field, but Gary Sheffield had 14 assists from right field. He has a very strong arm from the right field side.
Checking that sun, which, as we mentioned, could be a problem for the first several innings of this game. Lofton drops a bunt, deadening it in front of the plate. Johnson's throw is wild. Lofton on his way to second. The ball caroms off the tarp as Sheffield comes up with it. No doubt a hit and an error. And the error would go against Charles Johnson. And although it's postseason and therefore won't break his streak, keep in mind that Charles Johnson has gone 171 consecutive regular season games dating to mid-season 96 without an error.
Well, a beautiful bunt by Kenny Lofton. He really killed that pitch. Laid it down the third baseline. Johnson got out there and said he had it all the way. Here it is again. Beautiful bunt by Lofton. And I mean, he's flying. The low throw field, getting by Conine. And into second base goes Kenny Lofton, the Braves, with the leadoff man on here in the opening inning.
Bunt single and a real rarity. An error for Charles Johnson.
That's what speed will make you do as a defensive player, Bob. You get those guys like Lofton who can run, and you know you've got to make a quick play on him and a good throw, and you hurry it sometimes, and he threw it in the dirt.
I actually thought he had him if he makes a good throw, but I'm not so sure Conine shouldn't have caught that ball. Let's take a look at first base and see where this ball actually ends up. Johnson comes out very quickly, and a good accurate throw, he will get him. See, he has time.
I don't know if
No, that's a bad throw.
Yeah.
That's a very bad throw. I thought his ball knocked his glove off, but it wasn't.
Bonilla in close at third. Lockhart shows no sign of the bunt. 2-0. Well, what Lofton did was smart. He was 0 for 5 last night. 2 for 18 overall in the postseason. Hit under 200 the last 3 weeks of the regular season, so trying to get something going for himself. He lays down a bunt and beats it out. Now Lockhart hits one to right center field. Hit pretty well. Devon White on the run, and this ball is up against the wall. Lofton had to hold, but he's got plenty of speed to sprint home, and Lockhart's on his way to third with a triple.
Fernandez. This time, Keith Lockhart, a fastball, about knee-high, right down the middle. He got the fat part of the bat on it. Devon White giving chase. That ball's off the lower part of the wall out in right center. And before White can finally corral it, Lockhart has a 3-base hit, and the Braves have the 1-0 lead.
Chipper Jones trying to make it more, cuts and misses.
And the Marlins are going to play the defense back. They're going to surrender this run if a ground ball is hit to one of the infielders other than Bonilla and Fernandez.
A ball and a strike. Devon White had a little bit of trouble playing the carom. And if the official scorer wanted to be very harsh, it could have been a double and an error, but he rules it a triple for Lockhart. 1-2.
Remember last night when we were talking with Bobby Cox and he talked about Keith Lockhart and how impressed he was with him? He said for a while he didn't think he was that kind of a player. He said the more I watched him, the more I liked him. That's why he's in there today.
Still 1-2 to Chipper Jones, who told Jim Gray before the game that the bone bruise on his right foot is getting worse each day and night he plays on it, but he feels he has no choice. This is the postseason after all. It's the kind of injury that you can't shoot with a painkiller, so he just has to play through it. But he wanted to emphasize he will not use it as an excuse for the ball he didn't handle last night. And he goes down swinging, a big strikeout for Fernandez, with a man at third and nobody out, and now 1 out in the bottom of the first.
I actually felt like if Devon White would have come up with this ball on the first bounce, and when it goes off the wall, watch, he tries to barehand it. If he catches it even right there, Lofton would not have been able to score. Lofton had gone back to tag up, but after the second bobble, he was able to score. He would not have been able to score. You see Fernandez, and he thinks the same way. That ball should have been fielded, you know, maybe after it came off the wall, and they would have had runners at second and third.
I might have to take my chances with Lofton on that one. I mean, in the opening inning here with his kind of speed and the ball hit that far, I think I have to take a chance on scoring him too, Joe.
Now the infield moves in with McGriff at the plate and 1 out. And Fernandez gets the corner.
The problem is he had gone back to tag up, and that wasn't really a tag-up situation. You only tag up if the guy is under the ball. He should have been halfway, and he was not halfway.
Up and in, 2-1.
But as you know, speed will make up for a lot of mistakes.
You did it.
Made mistakes or speed?
No, speed.
All right.
Three balls and a strike to McGriff, with Klesko next. on the bunt single by Kenny Lofton. He moved to second on the play on the throwing error by the catcher Charles Johnson, then came home on Lockhart's triple. Chipper Jones couldn't bring Lockhart in. He struck out swinging. Now McGriff with the infield in and the 3-1 pitch. Called strike 2.
Beautiful pitching by Fernandez. The 2 strikes have come over the outside corner. And because they pitched McGriff in so much last night, he's looking for the ball inside, because that was the pattern they used in last night's ball game.
The payoff.
Back inside. He's thrown 2 strikes over the outside corner. Now he comes back inside, trying to get the strikeout or the weak ground ball.
Another 3-2 pitch. Did Johnson hold it?
No.
He could not hold it.
He had it for a moment. It popped away, and he tried to trap it between his legs, which that didn't happen either. You saw it roll through his legs. Here it is one more time. He catches it initially, and there's no chance for you. This is all luck. I mean, the glove's in the right spot, and the ball hits it. That's it. You can't move the glove fast enough. There you go. He almost had it.
And Fernandez almost had the second consecutive strikeout he was looking for. Ripped foul.
But he got inside on McGriff. Again, he broke his back. If you're at second base and there's a fly ball with no one out, you're actually supposed to be halfway. See, he's doing both. He's trying to tag up and run. Now, look, see if he comes up with the ball right there, there's no way Lofton could have scored, even with his speed. But because he bobbled it out there, Lofton was able to come home and score.
Well, if you think the ball is going to be caught, though, with nobody out, tagging is a more important play than with one out, because it gets you to third with only one out, if you're sure the ball's going to be caught.
Right.
3-2 again, and this time he gets him.
Just beautiful pitching there by Fernandez. In, out. The last 4 pitches, he just went in and out on McGriff, and he was able to get that good sinker ball down away for strike 3.
Two of those 17 victories this year at the expense of the Atlanta Braves. He also won his division series start, clinching the series against the Giants in San Francisco last Friday. Klesko with a drive. This ball is on its way. This ball is gone.
Good as the pitches he made on Jones and McGriff, this was a bad pitch. He was trying to get a fastball in. See the target, now watch it move back out over the plate. And that's what Klesko loves. He loves the ball up and out over the plate.
Ball 1 to Javi Lopez. Well, it was the Marlins who scored 3 times in the first last night. The Braves strike for 3 here. Doubter from the moment of contact. You could say it landed in the cheap seats, but in baseball these days, especially in the postseason, there are no cheap seats, so perhaps the less expensive seats. Still 1-2. There it goes, somewhere between the cheap seats and Savannah. Man, that was belted. Two and two. count to Lopez. Bobby Cox emphasized before the game that there was nothing wrong with Eddie Perez, at least no further difficulties. He is nursing a sore groin. He simply took him out in the bottom half of the first because they had a chance to score against Kevin Brown. Sent up Lopez with the bases loaded. Javi didn't come through. Here he gets the walk from Fernandez. Anybody ever hit for you in the first inning?
It didn't happen in the first inning. It happened in my first at bat. You remember catcher Clay Dalrymple? I'm sure you do. Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah, we were playing the St. Louis Cardinals and had the bases loaded in the second inning. Gene Mauch was the manager at the time. And rather than let me hit, he sent up Clay Dalrymple.
Michael Tucker stings one to right, and Sheffield is there for the catch to end the first. But that story will be resumed. 3 for Atlanta in the first. 2 of them on one swing of Klesko's bat.
NBC's coverage of the National League Championship Series is brought to you by Old Spice High Endurance Deodorant. For long-lasting odor protection, now you've got proof, not promises. By Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. By IBM, solutions for a small planet. And by KFC, home of Colonel Strips. When you're on the go, everybody needs a little KFC.
Tom Glavine has been staked to a 3-0 lead. He worked a 1-2-3 first. Here's Bonilla to start the second. So anyway, Clay Dalrymple comes up to hit for you.
Yeah, bases loaded and nobody out, and he pinch hits Clay Dalrymple for me. You know, he whistles at me. I figure he's going to call me back and give me some strategy, but he hooked me. And I'm sitting on the bench, and Mahaffey throws a pitch in the dirt. Wild pitch, a run scores. Gene looked at me and winked and gave me an elbow, and what'd I tell you, you know? I said, you know, I can do that, too. I mean, I worked on that in spring training. That was my strong suit.
Watching a wild pitch go by.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then the one thing you got to do after the pitch goes in the dirt, you got to put your arm, wave that runner in. Don't put, you got to, come on. You know, don't just stand there.
So did Dalrymple get a hit?
No. Which is okay. I was never a problem guy, you know that.
So you just sat down. You didn't have anything to say to Mauch about it all? Bonilla fouls one to the seats, 2-2.
I left the ballpark.
Quick shower and out, huh?
Never showered. I used to like to walk the streets in my uniform. People always ask, you play ball? Yeah.
Makes for some interesting conversation. Good icebreaker for you. Yeah.
Yeah, how you doing?
The 2-2 pitch from Glavine to Bonilla. Got him swinging for his first strikeout of the afternoon.
Let's take a look at last night's home runs by the Atlanta Braves. Here, Chipper Jones hits his home run. His second time at bat in the third inning. And then Klesko in the sixth inning, both leading off the inning. Let's take a look on supervision. This is Jones' ball, and he hit it over the left field wall. Klesko's pitch, almost identical spot, and he hits it a little farther over the left field wall.
Conine swings and misses. You know, Glavine has so much finesse the way he works the corners that people overlook the fact that he'll throw 92, 93 sometimes, especially on a day like today where he's working with a week's rest and he might be a little bit stronger. Roll to short. Lauser throws Conine out.
Yeah, at the top of the telecast, they talked about Glavine and his staying away from everybody. Every once in a while, he'll come inside. That last pitch, a curveball inside on Conine, jammed him, and he gets the 6-3 ground out. But I don't know if there are too many pitchers who stay away as much as Glavine does from the left side. And I mean, just stays out there, 2-1, 3-1, he'll still stay away and make you chase.
Last night's loser, Greg Maddux. Jim Eisenreich in place of the injured Moises Alou. 280 this year. Had 4 straight 300 seasons with the Phillies before coming to the Marlins. That includes 361 last year. A 294 career hitter. At age 38, a valuable bat off Jim Leyland's bench. Chipper Jones has it. He was in close, makes the play, and Glavine has retired the first 6 he's faced. After 1 1/2, 3-0 Atlanta.
Last night, Ryan Klesko hit a home run to left field off a fastball up and out over the plate, 94 miles an hour. Today, he pulls the ball to the right field seats on a fastball up and in. So you pitch him away, he goes away. Pitch him in, he pulls it. That's exactly what he was telling his teammates.
If Alex Fernandez is throwing 84-mile-an-hour fastballs today, he's going to be in trouble. He's normally in the high 80s to low 90s. He's got a good fastball, and if that's what it was, he's got a problem.
Ball 1 to Blauser, starting it off in the bottom of the second. Followed by Glavine and Lofton. Up high, 2-0. Alex Fernandez is 28 years old, 6'1", 215, a Miami native who came home as a free agent after leaving the White Sox. Put up 17 and 12 for a record, plus an ERA of 3.59 in his first year with the Marlins. And this is what he did against Atlanta.
But I have to agree with what Uecker said. He was throwing harder against the Giants, and he probably threw harder against the Braves earlier this year.
3-1.
He's right around 86, 87 miles an hour, and that's not a good Alex Fernandez fastball because he does pitch up in the strike zone a lot of times.
Hit sharply down to Bonilla. Bobby Bo throws across the diamond and gets him. As always, folks, you can follow the baseball playoffs online at MLBWorldSeries.com. Immediately after the games, listen live online to our AudioNet coverage of the postgame press conference. Plus, Marlins pitcher Al Leiter answers your question in tomorrow's BigLeaguers.com chat session at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Phillies ace Curt Schilling breaks down the Marlins and the Braves starting lineups. That's a look at today's page, to be found at MLBWorldSeries.com. Glavine, by no means an automatic out, has always been a good hitting pitcher. 222 is average this season. Alex Fernandez, the Miami native, scheduled to pitch games 2 and 6, both here at Turner Field, so he will not work at home during this LCS. 1-2, and generally, he has been better in this, his first season for Florida, on the road than at home. Game 3 Friday after an off day, Saunders against Smoltz. 2-2. Ordinarily, you'd call that a mismatch. After all, Smoltz is 10-2 for his career in postseason. Last year's Cy Young Award winner, one of baseball's best power pitchers. Tony Saunders, 4-6 for the year, but 3-0 against Atlanta with an ERA under 2. And 1-6 against the rest of the world. Go figure. Down goes Glavine. That's the third strikeout for Fernandez. The comparative figures, which would seem to make Smoltz the prohibitive favorite, but for Saunders' record against the Braves and the Marlins' overall record against Atlanta, plus the fact that nobody played better ball percentage-wise at home than Florida this year. Bonilla in close. Lofton bunted for a hit his first time. And this one is popped up. Charles Johnson off with the mask. Bonilla comes in. It may fall. Bobby Bo grabs it, stumbling to the turf. 3-0 Atlanta. Tom Glavine back to the hill as we move to the third. No Marlin has reached base against him yet. Johnson, White, and Fernandez, the hitters here. A ball and a strike to the Marlin catcher. Tom Glavine is baseball's winningest left-hander over the last decade. He's 31 years old. Won the Cy Young Award in 1991. the first of 3 consecutive 20-victory seasons for him. From Concord, Massachusetts. Lives now near Atlanta. And one of a half-dozen Braves remaining from their first trip of this decade to the postseason 6 years ago. The others are Smoltz and Wohlers, Jeff Blauser, Rafael Belliard, and Tommy Gregg, who was with them in '91, left for a long stretch and now is back. Full count.
What do you think the last time there was a series with 3 Cy Young Award winners back to back to back, and then a 20-game winner this year waiting in the wings?
Used in relief last night.
And Denny Nagel,
Denny
right?
Nagel. Charles Johnson burned Greg Maddux with a double down the left field line last night. In this his 3rd big league season, he's become an increasingly dangerous hitter to go with his Gold Glove defense. This ball is popped back of short into shallow left. Blauser out. This is trouble. 3 players converge, and Klesko is there to make the running catch. And speaking of trouble on pop-ups, let's go back to the play that ended the previous half inning.
Well, Charles Johnson gives chase on this pop-up. Lofton hits it in the air. You hear Bobby Bonilla calling that ball. You hear him calling Johnson off, and the Florida bench hollering, Bobby, 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 but he overran it too and made the diving catch to save it.
Devon White now takes a strike. From the perspective of the catcher, if the third baseman or first baseman coming in has a view and has a play, even if the catcher's a Gold Glover, don't you want the guy with the fielder's glove on to make the play?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the foul pop-ups behind the plate are always coming back toward the infield. It's a much easier play for a first baseman or the third baseman. There are a lot of catchers. I mean, catchers, you don't get that much action back there anyway. An easy pop fly, normally you want to catch it. But it is an easier play for an infielder coming in, Bob, because the ball is going back toward the infield.
The 1-1 pitch. Sliced foul.
There are a lot of catchers that don't like to give way to an infielder on a play like that because it's a relatively easy play for Johnson. Charles Johnson looked like he overran it a little bit, but that probably was because Bonilla was calling him off.
On 1-2. Just low. It appeared to have the outside corner.
Well, that's what Glavine will do, especially when you get 2 strikes. It's very difficult to lay off of that pitch just off the outside corner.
The 2-2. And that one doesn't miss by much, but that's what Glavine does.
Well, he tries to get you to bite off the outside corner. This pitch is off the plate. You'll take a look here. This pitch is off the plate, and he wants you to bite on it because you have 2 strikes. A lot of times hitters will commit.
Now on 3-2. Slap toward McGriff. He makes a diving stop. He races to the bag and beats White there for the out.
Now a beautiful play by Freddie McGriff on this ball hit last night on a similar play. He kicked it. It led to some unearned runs. Here he makes the play and takes the play unassisted on Devon White.
This is good hitting, though, by Devon White. That pitch caught the outside corner, and he hits a bullet down that way, but nice play by McGriff.
Alex Fernandez hit 152 this year after spending the first several years of his career in the American League, where he never had to pick up the bat.
Against a guy like Glavine, you always hate to give yourself up, Joe. I mean, every time he throws those pitches on the outside part. I mean, if you can make your mind up to go that way, he's going to be a lot easier to hit. But in the back of your mind, there's always that thought that he's going to come inside on you, no matter how many times he goes away.
That's what makes him so difficult to handle. He will not give in, and he makes you change your pattern at the plate.
And Fernandez hangs in against him. Fernandez was part of that $89 million spending spree by Wayne Huizenga and the Marlins. Alou, Bonilla, and Fernandez as free agents, re-signing Sheffield and Nen, bringing in Leland. Almost $90 million in commitments over the years.
Yeah, but as Jim Leland said, there were a lot of other teams that spent money, and they're not in the playoffs.
Well, it brought the Marlins the wild card, their best record ever, an increase in their attendance. As you see, there's no coincidence that 4 of the 5 survivors are among the top 5 payrolls, and the last one to be bumped off was the Yankees, and they have the top payroll in baseball. Called strike 3. Second strikeout for Glavine. He's perfect through 3. With the exception of most of left field, the outfield is still in bright sunshine as we approach 5 o'clock. Still something of a problem for the hitters, Joe, because the background is still bright, but less of a problem than when the mound is in sunshine and the front part of the plate is in shadow.
Right. You have a little better depth perception in this situation than they had at the beginning of the ball game.
Even that little area out in front of home plate, Joe, where the sun is coming through the light standards up above, as that moves out from shade to sunshine and then back to shade again, could be a problem for the hitter.
Lockhart against Fernandez in the bottom of the 3rd. Filling in for Mark Lemke, who has had so much postseason success through the years for Atlanta. Lockhart hit the ball hard last night, including a double. He tripled off the right center field wall his first time up this afternoon, knocked in a run with that swing, and later scored on Klesko's homer. It's 3-0 Braves.
They have to change their scouting report on Lockhart, and you just saw a change there. They've been trying to pound him in with fastballs. That hasn't worked. So now he's going to change up and go away.
And he lines it to right for his second hit of the day.
You can see he's there trying to pull the ball. This pitch was away. It's supposed to be away. No, he doesn't get it away, and that's the problem. And let's take a look at it here on supervision. This is what the left-hander sees from his point of view. This is where he goes out to get the ball. And the red ball is the trajectory it would stay on if it didn't break. And you can see the white ball, it's sunk down 5 inches.
Chipper Jones struck out swinging his first time. Lofts one behind 3rd. Bonilla and Renteria over. It's in the seats. For those of you unfamiliar with supervision, and until a few days ago that included us, this is not a simulation.
Right.
It's a computer tracking of the actual pitch ball.
Exactly. And let's take a look at the last pitch. This is Chipper Jones. We're putting you in the left-handed batter's box. That's where the pitch was. It was a little sinker. He still got under it.
This ball is well hit. Deep right center field. This ball is gone. Just as they did last night, Klesko and Chipper Jones have both connected in Game 2. The difference is the order. Last night, Jones did it first. Klesko followed. Last night, they were both solos. Today, each with a man aboard.
This is the way the Braves played a couple of years ago. They had a lot of power, and that's how they beat you. They didn't beat you with a lot of singles and doubles. And that fastball again moves out over the plate. They've been pitching him in, and Chipper drives it over the right field wall.
Talked about Alex Fernandez and his ability every once in a while to throw strikes low and in, sliders, fastballs, curveballs down and in. That time the fastball stayed right out there, fat fastball, and Jones hit it out of here.
5-0 Atlanta.
Let's take a look. This is last night's home run, which went to left field. This home run went to right field. So you see they're getting the ball up on Chipper, and he's making them pay for it.
Take a look at Sheffield and White when that ball was hit. All he did was turn around and watch it.
The 2-2 to McGriff. Full count. So
it seems the only time Fernandez gets above 87 miles an hour, Bob, is when he humps up. And when he does that, he throws it high and away.
here's another shot, and Conine makes a terrific play. But it doesn't change the reality for Fernandez. They're teeing off on him here.
Beautiful play by Jeff Conine on a rocket hit by McGriff. Here it is. There's the diving stab by Conine. A beautiful play, taking a double, at least a double, away from Fred McGriff. There's another angle. Same result.
And that ball was only 85 miles an hour.
Yeah, I'm surprised at his fastball today, Joe. Every once in a while, he's in that 87, 88, 89 range, but for the most part, 84, 85. And not that velocity is so important if you can make the pitches. I mean, if you're going to make the corner pitches, velocity doesn't mean a thing. But he's throwing the ball right down the pipe. The balls that have really been hit hard by Klesko and Jones have been right down the pipe.
Klesko drilled one into the right field seats. A two-run shot his first time up. 1-2. Al Leiter scheduled as the Game 5 starter. Could be used for a while here. Just as Nagel, Bobby Cox's Game 4 starter, was used for 3 innings last night. 2-2. At second base, Abbott. 2 down in the bottom of the third with 2 runs home to make it 5-0 Atlanta. The American League Series between Cleveland and Baltimore gets started tonight. It's on Fox at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll take tomorrow off. We're back with you Friday from Florida. Smoltz for the Braves, Saunders for the Marlins. Javi Lopez. Walked his first time up. Hits this one in the air toward the right field line. Sheffield over, glasses down into foul ground, and can't come up with it.
If Sheffield lost that ball or not, it was a catchable ball near the stands in the right field corner. Gary looked like he saw it all the way, but just never caught up to it. I don't know if he got a little gun shy at the wall. He's cruising here. There's room to catch this ball, and he just I don't know if he lost it or just gave up on it. This is a very catchable ball for Sheffield. It should have been caught. And again, the sun may have played a part in that one, but really a catchable ball by Sheffield.
So Lopez stays alive and fouls it back 1-2. Two balls and 2 strikes. Alex Fernandez did not have a happy experience in the American League Championship Series back in '93 with the White Sox. He pitched well against Toronto, but lost both times out. As you see, the ERA was very good, but he dropped both decisions. And this ball is hit like a shot down the left field line. It one-hops the wall. Played by Eisenreich. This could be close at second, but Lopez is in there with a 2-out double.
Bob, I have to think not only is his velocity down, but his ball could not have much movement on it. His fastball seems to be straightening out. And this is a fastball down. I mean, he just ripped it. I mean, he turns on it. And with 2 strikes, you're not supposed to be able to turn on a guy like Fernandez in this situation. But they are just teeing off on this fastball, and I really believe it's because there's not much movement on his fastball. And here's the throw into second base, but Javi Lopez in easily.
Jim Leland has seen enough. Alex Fernandez didn't have it today. Braves lead by 5, looking to get even. Well, the Braves had 6 hits off Alex Fernandez, and with the exception of Lofton's leadoff bunt, every one of them was tattooed. In comes Leiter, scheduled to be the Game 5 starter, but he can work a few innings here and still come back on Sunday, assuming there is a Game 5. First man he faces is Michael Tucker. Starts him with ball 1. Leiter was 11-9 this year. Made the All-Star team for Florida last year when he went 16-12, including a no-hitter against the Rockies. 1-1.
Well, you see the difference right there in the fastball. 94 miles an hour from Leiter, and we 10 miles an hour slower for Alex Fernandez.
Into shallow left, Eisenreich over toward the line, and that'll do it. But 2 more on the Chipper Jones homer, and we're back after these messages from your local station.
Welcome back to Atlanta. I'm Jim Gray. Well, we are at the house that Hank built. 755 Hank Aaron Drive. That's our address today. And now we're pleased to be joined by the home run king of all time, Hank Aaron, up in his private box. Hank, let me ask you, there were so many home runs this year. Do you feel it's only a matter of time before Roger Maris's 61 is broken?
Well, I tell you, it really is going to be tough. I've said this so many times. People don't realize that all through that whole season, Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle. Mickey hit about 50-some home runs that year, and so you're going to have somebody behind you at the tail end of the season that can hit the ball and not be a pitcher not be afraid of. So to answer your question, anything is possible, but I think a hitter's going to have to be so far ahead until he's just not going to have to worry about the last month of the season.
As we see Abbott get a single off Tom Glavine, let me ask you, Hank, your record, 755. Do you see that one falling, or is that going to be virtually impossible?
Well, as I said before, anything is possible, but I think today, if you look at it, not that players don't have the ability to do it. I think all of these players are terrific. But whether they want to play for 23 years is another thing. I played for 23 years, and these players don't need to play that long. They are rich the 10th season. They made as much money as I made.
As we look at Bobby Bonilla, or Renteria, I'm sorry, hit into ground out into second, safe for first base. Hank, finally, let me ask you, has the record meant more to you over the years, or has it meant less as time has gone on?
I think, to be honest with you, I think when I first hit it and got it over with, for the next 5 years, it meant absolutely nothing. I think just in the last few years, I think people are beginning to realize and recognize that something that I did, that they are beginning to put it in the same category, say the home runs that Babe Ruth hit, also the amount of games that Tarkov played in. So I think it's beginning to get the same amount of appeal that it should have gotten.
Hank, it's great to see you. We enjoy being at your address. Beautiful ballpark.
It is quite a ballpark.
Let's send it back down to Bob Costas.
All right, Jim, thanks a lot. Always a pleasure to hear from the great Hank Aaron. Kurt Abbott opened the inning with a soft single to center. The first Marlin hit off Glavine. Then Renteria wraps into a 6-4-3 double play. That brings Sheffield up with 2 out and nobody on. All these guys hitting 50 or around 50, more than 50 the last few years, talking about Roger Maris. But Aaron's record is going to be an entirely different matter.
Yes.
Hank never hit more than 47 in a single season, but he just kept doing it. 40, 44, 45, year after year to wind up with 755.
Hank touched on the key item, too. 23 years. There aren't players that play that long anymore. I mean, guys just, they don't hang around. I mean, there's other things to do. They make a tremendous amount of money today, as Hank explained, and And 23 years is a long, long, long time.
Think of it this way. Hit exactly 50 for 15 straight years. Start your 16th year 5 behind Aaron on the all-time list.
He's such a great guy. I mean, and Joe played against him, and I was fortunate enough to be a teammate of Henry's. What a guy, and what a guy to watch. I mean, he had his own style and his own way of hitting. I mean, there was nobody could copy him. It was Hank Aaron, and what a guy. What a great guy.
Sheffield draws a 2-out walk. Let's look ahead to tonight on NBC. Tony Danza and his new show, shockingly called Tony Danza. Plus, Built to Last, a great new episode of Third Rock, the premiere of Working, starring Fred Savage, and a Law and Order everyone will be talking about. Can you imagine that production meeting? Let's see. We got Tony Danza. What should we call the show? People get paid big money to come up with this kind of stuff.
Who was the boss?
The truck is laughing. I don't know. Tony is. Line at a second. Caught by Lockhart. Bonnie is not laughing either. He's over 2. 5-0 Braves.
NBC's coverage of the National League Championship Series is brought to you by Cigna, a business of caring. By PlayStation, a bit of advice for gamers everywhere. Never underestimate the power of PlayStation. And by Gatorade Thirst Quencher. You live life, you get thirsty. Life is a sport. Drink it up.
Al Leiter in relief of Alex Fernandez, who had just about nothing today. The Braves knocked him all over the yard before he departed in the third, trailing 5-0. Bottom of the fourth, Blauser, Glavine, and Lofton do.
Definitely not the same Alex Fernandez we saw pitch against the Giants last Friday.
Evidenced immediately by lack of velocity, but that's not the factor. I mean, if you can make the pitches, if you can pitch the corners, pitch the spots, you can get by, but he just couldn't do that today.
How much of that, as a guy who spent a lot of time in the bullpen warming people up as opposed to in the game, how much of that can you tell in the bullpen while the guy's warming up?
Well, there are times, Bob, when guys leave a lot of what they have, their best stuff in the bullpen. There are other times when guys leave the bullpen with what you think is the worst stuff you've seen over their last couple of starts and come in and pitch a great ballgame.
Down the left field line, in for a hit. Eisenreich over, Blauser a wide turn, content with a leadoff single.
It's happened where guys out of the bullpen, a bullpen coach will call the bench and say, he ain't got it. He's not throwing real well. There's that last pitch and the base hit by Blauser. And a good play by Eisenreich getting there in a hurry to hold Blauser to a single. But yeah, there's times when a bullpen coach will call in and say, you know, he doesn't have very much. He's tired, doesn't have it, and may not go to it.
Glavine in a sacrifice situation gets it down. Leiter's play is to first, Abbott covering. 1-4 on the sacrifice. Blauser at second with 1 out for Lofton. This series continues on Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. Game 3 this time from Florida. Smoltz against Saunders. We're back in prime time at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on NBC Friday for Game 3.
Let me ask you a question. I just started thinking about this. Was that a little rip before about spending most of my time in the bullpen?
No, just an observation.
You know, there was the off-season.
That would lend credibility to your comments. A shattered bat. Lofton is left with the splinters. Most of the lumber going out onto the field.
Bob, that's what happens. Watch, he bails a little bit. Watch his front side. He kind of leaves there in a hurry right there, and he just throws the head of the bat at the ball, and he hits it right off the end of the bat. You see, he's going toward first base.
He just became a relay runner.
Let's take a look at Lofton and where he hits the ball most of the time. Look at that. He goes to left field a lot, which also helps him because any ground ball he hits on the left side, he usually beats out for a base hit.
He has a bunt single, and he's fouled out today. 0-2. Lofton sits down.
Good job of spotting the ball by Leiter. He came inside for the 2-strike pitch. Now he goes back away right there on the corner for strike 3. Let's take a look at what Kenny Lofton saw. That pitch just looks like that. And here it is right there on the outside edge.
Lofton's troubles at the plate continue. Lockhart, meanwhile, has been smacking the ball. A double last night. Also hit the ball hard a couple of other times when he was retired. Today he's tripled and singled. Lofton hit .333 for the season, but most of that was built through September 1st.
You know, in defense of Kenny Lofton, there's a lot of left-handers who'll sit down on a pitch like that, and right-handers for that matter. That's a tough pitch right there. That's what always got me.
3-0 to Lockhart.
Well, Lockhart has forced them to change their pattern. Now they've gone to a lot of breaking balls. He is hammering the fastball. So they're trying to throw him a few more breaking balls and move the ball away.
In there for strike 1. Chipper Jones, who has homered in each of the first 2 games, on deck. Jane Fonda apparently snoozing behind him.
There's a 3-1 breaking ball. Normally that's a fastball situation. But again, they've changed their pattern against Lockhart, and I believe you have to. He is just killing the fastball, so you have to throw him something different.
On 3-2, a pop-up to the left side. Bonilla into foul ground, and that finishes the Braves in the bottom of the 4th. Still 5-0 Atlanta. Well, in the category of understatement, Alex Fernandez did not have it, and Tom Glavine appears to have his best stuff today.
Well, you're right. Alex Fernandez, that we saw in San Francisco last week, threw very well, had good velocity. But Tom Glavine looks like Tom Glavine, the way he throws every time out almost. He is always in control.
As we move to the 5th, he faces Conine, so we'll be out of here in plenty of time for you to check out your buddy Tony Danza on his program tonight.
I don't know about that, Bob. I'll be driving to Florida immediately after the game tonight.
So we got your rental car, huh? The rest of us are flying.
Well, I'm just going to check some of the minor league cities I played in on my way to the top.
Renew old acquaintances?
Not necessarily.
Conine will be followed by Eisenreich and Johnson.
I'll avoid those towns.
So far in these first 2 ball games, the Florida Marlins have to be happy with the umpiring that they're getting, and they're getting a fair shake. As far as the outside corner is concerned, most teams concern themselves with the outside corner and how the umpires are going to call pitches. Well, I believe the umpires have done an excellent job on the outside part of the plate.
Hey, you know, Bruce Fleming called a good game last night, too, Joe. He really did. And we talked about it at the top of the broadcast, the fact that Glavine was one of those guys that works the outside corner both ways, left-handed or right-handed batters. Bruce Fleming, I thought, called a great game last night. Took a foul tip last night in the shoulder, and we got to check with him. Check and see how he's doing. He looks like he's all right. He'd take more than a foul ball to knock that over.
Conine opens the 5th with a walk. The second given up today by Tom Glavine. Eisenreich grounded to third his first time up. Foul back. In case you're just joining us, Eisenreich is in place of the injured Moises Alou, who apparently injured his wrist on his glove hand trying to go up over the wall for the opposite field homer hit by Ryan Klesko last night. According to Jim Leland, who spoke with our Jim Gray before the game, Alou is not even available to pinch hit today. They just hope he'll be able to play in Game 3 on Friday. A bouncer to short. 1. Lockhart turns it. 2.
I tell you what, Keith Lockhart is not known for his defense, but he's made 2 excellent turns here in the last couple of innings. I mean, he is getting the job done at second base. This ball hit the Blauser, and watch Blauser gives him a good feed, and watch how quickly he gets rid of the ball. I mean, that's what you call turning a double play over, and he did it in the last inning as well. And he's not even a second baseman. Maybe it's not as tough as I thought it was.
Fouled off by Johnson.
You know, a few years back, you wouldn't have been able to get Jim Eisenreich on a double play ball. Jim Eisenreich, earlier in his career, one of the fastest players in baseball, could really fly. 38 years old now. He's slowed down a couple of steps, but still a valuable player on this Marlin ball club. Yeah, that's what you just said. 10 years ago, there ain't no way.
Down low, 2-1.
It's one of the things that makes the Atlanta Braves pitching staff so tough. They will get what they need. If they need a strikeout, they go for the strikeout. They need the ground ball, they seem to be able to get it.
Hit hard, and Blauser dives to smother it. Springs to his feet. McGriff with a scoop. Terrific play on both ends, especially by Blauser. Quite a contrast to last night. Brave defense sparkling here.
Let's take a look at this great play by Blauser. He dives in the hole. Now watch how quickly he has to get up. He gets up and makes a strong throw to first base, but he needs a little help from his friend over there, Freddie McGriff. And Freddie comes up with the low throw. Nice play there by both Blauser and McGriff. I mean, that's a pretty tough pick up there. That wasn't a short hop.
That's an in-between hop, Joe. He made a heck of a nice play on it.
McGriff now on deck as Chipper Jones starts it in the last half of the 5th. Turns around to swing from the right side against the left-hander Leiter. He's connected in both games of this series. Also had a long home run in Houston in the division series against the Astros. Hit 21 for the regular season, only one of them right-handed. And all 3 of his postseason homers have been lefty. This ball is hit hard, leadoff single.
That's what happens when you fall behind on guys like Jones. Leiter behind him, 2-0. Then comes in with a high fastball, and Jones with a line drive base hit to left. Here it is again. Fastball about belt high. And again another angle. Still a base hit for Chipper Jones.
Now McGriff, who struck out swinging and lined out, rolls one by Conine and then by Abbott. On his way to third is Chipper Jones.
Well, McGriff hit the ball hard his last time up, and it was caught. Now he dribbles one through the right side. What happens here is Conine shields Abbott from the ball. Now watch, Conine goes after it, and right there he shields Abbott from the ball, and Abbott can't make the stop. It looked like Conine was going to be able to come up with it. Abbott thought he had it, and the ball goes through, and Chipper Jones around to third base.
The proverbial seeing eye hit for Fred McGriff. So now Klesko, who is homered and grounded out. Big cut and a miss.
Not really a great year for any of those guys. They're all capable of hitting 30 or more. McGriff has done it several times, and Klesko a couple of times. They are capable of hitting in the 30s.
Foul back 0-2.
A lot of that has to do with this new ballpark, playing at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. It was a much smaller ballpark, and they were able to hit the ball out more often. They struggled here, especially at the beginning of the season, because they were not able to reach the dimensions of this big ballpark.
330 down the right field line here, 335 to left, 390 into the right center gap, 380 in left center field, 400 to straightaway center.
This is a fair ballpark. The ball really carries here sometimes. Bobby Cox says the warmer weather, warmer days, the ball really flies out of here. He said what affected this park in difference to Fulton County Stadium was the openness of center field. Fulton County Stadium completely enclosed.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Way outside, 2-2.
Well, the first trip I came in here, I talked to the hitters, and they felt like this ballpark was just much bigger than the one they just came from Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, or the house that Hank built.
This is one of the new old parks that's all the rage, and each of them have their own new wrinkles. Various concourses where you can watch the game. A Hall of Fame stocked with memorabilia. Variety in the concession stands. That's also out of play, still 2-2. Things for kids to do who might be a bit too young to sit through 9 innings. Get some sun and watch it from that vantage point. Out on one of the concourses there, and all with the feel, with the brick and whatnot, the feel of an old-time ballpark.
It's a beautiful place. It really is.
Hopped up on the infield or back of the plate. And here's Johnson off with a mask to make the catch.
You hear the pitcher Al Leiter that time hollering, "Straight up, Charlie, straight up." Johnson, an easy catch. CJ, straight up, CJ, straight up.
So Leiter gets the first out he needs. First and third, 1 out as the Braves try and tack some more on, already leading 5-0. Lopez has walked and doubled. Takes inside. Chipper Jones at third. Fred McGriff at first. Each single. 2-0. 56-year-old Bobby Cox and his counterpart Jim Leland, two of the most respected managers in the game. Another pop, and you can hear Leiter again. Straight up CJ. Almost an instant replay.
They got that one zeroed in. Another pop-up. Al Leiter taking care of Javi Lopez, and again, getting all the help he needed from Al Leiter is CJ or Charlie Johnson. Yep, straight up CJ.
Watching Johnson handle those 2 pops, I'm reminded of the story of the old Washington Senator catcher Lou Berberet. He turned around on a foul pop and tossed away his glove and kept his mask. Not what he had in mind. Andrew Jones now with the left-hander on the mound. Pinch hits for Michael Tucker.
I remember Lou Berberet. That's a true story.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The bat is broken in half, and how often do you see this? 3 foul outs in a single inning to the catcher. First and third, nobody out, and then Johnson handles 3 pops. It's still 5-0. Uecker, ever have an inning like that behind the plate? 3 foul pops in 1 inning?
No, I don't remember seeing that, Bob. I really don't. I was sitting here trying to remember when the last time it was that I can remember anyway that I saw a catcher make the 3 outs in the inning on those on foul pops within 25 to 30 feet of each other 3 times.
And on consecutive hitters. So it looked like the Braves might pad their lead. Instead, they're denied. As we go to the 6th, it's 5-0. Glavine is allowed a hit and 2 walks. Devon White faces him here. And Glavine falls behind him 2-0. John Cangelosi, the veteran reserve outfielder, is in the on-deck circle. There's the switch hitter. Two and one. Three balls and a strike. You often hear it said that some guys know how to pitch with a lead. Can you explain that, Joe?
Well, you're supposed to win the ball game first. You're not out there to pitch a no-hitter. And normally your objective is not to walk anyone with a 5-0 lead. You throw strikes, and if someone happens to get a base hit, to get on base, then you go back to pitching, making perfect pitches low and away. But I don't think Glavine or Maddox or anyone on the Braves staff uses that mentality. They have a pattern they use, and they stay with it. Whether it's 5-0, 1-0, or whatever the score is, they pitch the way they throw every game out.
The 3-2 pitch to Devon White. Called strike three, although White might have thought it was ball four.
Well, he threw 5 pitches outside or towards the outside corner. Now he buries one on the inside corner, and Devon White thinks it's off the plate inside. But take a look here. This is what Devon White saw, but here's where the ball crosses the plate.
Talked about Glavine and his ability to come inside. He loves to stay away, right-handed batters, and every once in a while, that fastball inside.
On the first pitch, a little bloop into shallow left center, and Blauser retreats to make the catch, retiring the pinch hitter Cangelosi.
Now we talked about Charles Johnson in the top half of the 5th inning, or the bottom half, I should say. There's one out from Klesko, 2 outs from Javi Lopez. And then the next one. 3 pop-ups, all within an area of about 30 feet. Johnson retires the final 3 hitters in the 5th.
Kurt Abbott, who has the only Marlin hit, a soft single to center, leading off the 4th. Bats now with 2 out and nobody on in the 6th. Andrew Jones, by the way, who pinch hit for Michael Tucker, stays in the game, and he's the right fielder for Atlanta. A ball and a strike. Slams one by McGriff, and down the line, he's on his way for extra bases as Jones digs it out of the corner in foul territory, and it's a 2-out double.
In talking to the Braves staff, sometimes they prefer to pitch to sluggers rather than guys that slap the ball around. Here Abbott gets the ball away from him, slaps it down the right field line. They figure sluggers are going to overswing and they can change speeds on them and get something done. Abbott here goes into second base with a double, and he has the only 2 base hits the Braves have. That's the way you go with Maddox. You go the other way, and McGriff not able to track it down. By the time Andrew Jones tracks it down, he's able to get to second base.
Renteria. He's flied out and grounded into a double play. Abbott at second with 2 out. 5-0 Braves in the 6th. 1-1. Abbott with both hits off Glavine so far today. A single and a double. Tip back into Lopez's glove, 1-2.
Well, this crowd really getting into it now with 2 strikes, 2 outs. They've had a lot to shout about here today in difference to last night.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Glavine has struck out 2. Make it 3. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. And his 2-2 pitch. Inside, full count. Williams doing a little house cleaning, dusting off the plate. If Renteria reaches, Sheffield will be next. Another 3-2 pitch. In the air to right. Andrew Jones started in, now goes back and has it. Abbott's double goes to waste after 5.5. Still 5-0 Atlanta. Quite possibly his first National League Championship Series. Overruns the bag without touching it, so some work on the fundamentals is probably required. Also the first National League Championship Series for the new pitcher, 21-year-old Felix Heredia from the Dominican Republic. Blauser starts it against him in the bottom of the 6th. 5-0 Atlanta. 3 in the first. 2 more in the 3rd. Homers by Chipper Jones and Ryan Klesko, each with a man aboard.
Didn't take very long today, excuse me, Bob, with the Atlanta Braves and Kenny Lofton reaching on the bunt base, hitting in the air, charge to Charles Johnson, got the Braves off and running. Run-scoring triple by Lockhart, the big 2-run homer, as you alluded to. Got things going quick today.
2-1 now to Blauser. Heredia is the 3rd pitcher used by Jim Leyland. His starter, Alex Fernandez, was roughed up and gone before the 3rd was over. Al Leiter succeeded him. In the air to deep center field. Devon White to the track for the catch. Gary Strug and the rest of America's gold medal winning Magnificent Seven are reunited for the first time as John Hancock presents the gold medal gymnastics reunion. That's Saturday at 4:30 Eastern Time on NBC. Saturday night we have game 4 of this series. Strike 1 to Glavine, who's working on a 2-hitter. As he comes to the plate here in the 6th, he's struck out and sacrificed. And Heredia disposes of him on 3 pitches.
3 fastballs on the outside corner take care of Tom Glavine. Bang, bang, bang. Right there. 92 miles an hour for the strikeout.
Now Lofton, who tried to get himself on track by bunting in the 1st and in fact beat it out for a hit and later scored. But since then he's fouled out and struck out.
This guy's throwing some serious gas here, too. 93 miles an hour.
And he's throwing it with a little hitch. he's not your
Especially those left-handed batters, Joe.
Yeah.
A ball and a strike.
They're those stylish left-handers. They come right over the top. You pick the ball up.
Yeah.
He's not one of those stylish left-handers.
I see what you mean. Little sidearm fastball that time off the outside corner.
Well, if you're in the batter's box, you're left-handed. This is basically what it looks like. It comes a little bit out of right center field there.
Count evens at 2-2.
And he's having a tough time picking it up. That ball's on Lofton long before he thinks it's going to get there.
Not the most comfortable sort of at-bat when you're looking to bust out of a slump.
Well, he's had a tough at-bat against Leiter and now a tough at-bat against Heredia.
Doesn't dispute it, but you know how he feels about it. He thought that was ball 3. Instead, he's punched out, and we're back after these messages from your local station.
Welcome back to Atlanta. We're at the top of Turner Field. In fact, it's called Sky Field, hosted by Coca-Cola. It's a great place for kids. You can come run the base pass. There's a pitching mound over here, picnic area. About 17,000 people a night. But the big attraction up here at Coca-Cola Sky Field is if you stand right here and you catch a home run, it's worth $1 million. Now, there have been 4 home runs that have been hit in the major leagues, 506 feet, but none here yet in Atlanta. Hey, you, go get your glove.
Not where you're standing. You're in foul territory, Jim.
The sharp eye of Bob Uecker spotting a flaw in Jim Gray's plan. Sheffield starts it in the 7th against Glavine. New second baseman Tony Graffinino replaces Keith Lockhart. 0-2. Well, that's Mark McGwire distance or more. As Jim points out, there were 4 balls hit in the major leagues this year of 506 feet or more. I can think of at least 3 of them hit by McGwire, and then there was one by Andres Galarraga in Florida into the upper deck.
And also one by Larry Walker in Colorado.
So that's more than 4.
Got him again. Hey, that ball McGwire hit in St. Louis was unbelievable. Were you at that game, Bob?
Yeah, he had his own name on the scoreboard. That one was measured at 517, or estimated at 517. He also hit one 504 a couple of weeks before that in St. Louis.
Oh, boy.
The 0-2 from Glavine to Sheffield doesn't miss by much. Sheffield to be followed by Bonilla and Conine in the 7th against Glavine, who has completely mastered the Marlins today. Between the Division Series, LCS, and World Series competition, Glavine is 8-8 as a postseason pitcher.
What a pleasure it is to catch a guy like Glavine or a Maddox. Those guys who have the great control. I know neither Bob or Joe has ever been behind the plate with stuff on. I know that.
No.
But
Little League.
Really, oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'll tell you about it sometime.
I'd like to see your shin guards.
They are called the tool of ignorance.
Hey, Joe, wait a minute. I knew that was coming.
The chest protector took care of the whole thing in my case. 3-2. And it was scraping the ground.
Yeah, I know the kind you're talking about with that little flap down there.
You know what? I wasn't afraid. I was one of the guys that didn't flinch. I was too dumb to flinch.
Nah, you can handle it. Man, it's really nice. You don't have to dive around, jump all over the place. You put a target up, you sit there, and bang, bang. Beautiful.
Sheffield strikes out swinging. 4th K put in the book by Glavine. Tonight, the series premiere of Working.
Very happy to be here, Mr. Deal. Call me Tim. Nobody around here pulled any power trips. Have a seat in the little chair.
You know, by now, I anticipated that punchline. Don't miss the series premiere of Working starring Fred Savage tonight.
I still love that
on
line.
NBC.
I love that line.
We can only hope then that you are a member of the target audience for that program.
I hope I get a call.
I hope they put a Nielsen box in your house. Bonilla grounds one foul.
To be honest with you, we're seeing a little different side of Tom Glavine today. He is pitching a lot of right-handers inside more, and I think that's because he has a 5-0 lead, and he wants to establish in their mind that he will do that. And that will carry over the next time he faces the Marlins. But basically, he stays away, but he's thrown a lot of pitches inside today.
That one too much inside. Glavine was on the mound for the biggest victory in Atlanta Brave history. A combined one-hitter with Mark Wohlers. Just a fabulous performance in Game 6 of the World Series against Cleveland 2 years ago. He only hit a soft single by Tony Pena. Glavine flags it down and retires Bonilla.
This is what makes Tom Glavine so tough. First pitch right on the corner for a strike. Now he comes inside. Now Bonilla doesn't know where he's going, so he throws him a different pitch, a breaking ball, and then that little sinker down and away. I mean, nothing Bonilla could do about that. Just perfect pitches right there.
Who's grounded out and walked. Kurt Abbott has a single and a double. That's it against Tom Glavine. As we mentioned at the beginning of the game, Chipper Jones wanted to make it very clear that although he really is bothered by the sore right foot, he can't use it as an excuse for failing to field Moises Alou's 3-run double in the first inning last night. He said, I had to get over. I had to at least block it, if not field it.
Blocking it was what I thought he should have been able to do, not necessarily field it. That was a tough chance. But infielders are all taught with 2 down, you knock the ball down, keep it on the infield. And that's what he meant by saying that he should have blocked, at least went over there to knock it down.
Had he been 100% too, Joe, without the bad heel problem, I still think he'd have got a better push off and maybe been able to make the play or even knock it down, as you said.
Glavine trying to finish the Marlins off in the 7th. And he does. 2 strikeouts in the inning. 5 for the game. Stretch time in Atlanta.
NBC's coverage of the National League Championship Series is brought to you by the company you count on wherever life takes you. General Motors, people in motion. By Canon Laser Color, its only competition is reality. And by MCI, is this a great time or what?
Even Uecker would turn down this vantage point on the game, working on the dome of the state capitol. Far off in the distance.
150 in union dues will get you up there.
It's Graffinino's up there now. Hitting one over first base and down the line on his first swing. Extra bases, chased down by Sheffield. And a double for Graffinino, who replaced Keith Lockhart in the field in the top of the 7th. And delivers in his first at-bat in the bottom half.
Well, fastball away.
Well, outside second, fastball away, as Joe said, down the line. Graffinino picks up the double.
I don't think he was really aiming it there, Uecker. Just a little late on the fastball.
He might have been a little tardy, yeah.
Chipper Jones, 2 for 3 with a homer and a single. He's homered in his last 3 games. The final game of the 3-game sweep against Houston and the first 2 games of this series against Florida. A liner that is foul.
Well, you see they try to stay in tight on Chipper Jones, and he fights this ball off, and he slices it too much, goes foul down the line. One of the reasons he's hit all these home runs the last 3 ball games is the scouting report says you stay in tight on him. You throw him a lot of fastballs in. And if you do that, you can get him out. But when the ball moves back out over the plate, you have a problem, and that's what has happened. They have missed their spots 3 times, and 3 times he's hit home runs in the last 3 ball games.
Here is Heredia's 0-1 pitch. Hit through the box and into center field. Racing home is Graffinino. Big day for Chipper Jones. His 3rd hit. His 3rd RBI. 6-0 Braves.
Well, in difference to Heredia's 6th inning work, Braves have a couple of hits here and a run on a solid smash to center by Chipper Jones. He picked up a couple of strikeouts back in the 6th. But here a double by Glavine and a run-scoring base hit by Chipper Jones. And the Braves are up 6-0.
Now McGriff, who singled his last time up, he's 1 for 3. The time prior, he was robbed of a hit on a terrific play at first by Jeff Conine. The biggest deficit the Marlins have overcome to win a game, not get back in it, but to win a game this year, is 5 runs. They did it early in the season against San Diego. They trail by 6 now. And they haven't even been close for the most part against Tom Glavine. 6 runs, 11 hits, no errors for Atlanta. 0-2-1 for the Marlins. He walks him on 4 pitches.
Let's take a look at the home runs that Chipper Jones and Klesko has hit last couple of days. This is Ryan Klesko's home run. Fastball away. And then that's to left field. In the ball game today, Klesko pulls the ball to right field. The results are the same. He gets to trot around the bases.
Leland goes to the mound, but not with the intention of removing Heredia.
That's a good chance for Heredia to pitch here, Bob. They're down 6-0. You know, talking with Jim Leland today, I asked him, I said, with the win last night, is it going to make you change your game plan today? I mean, push a little more against Atlanta. He said, hey, we were pushing last night, evidenced by the hit and run with Kevin Brown. In a sacrifice situation, Brown's first time up with a runner aboard, he said, we were playing hit and run. We didn't care who it was. We were playing hit and run last night. And today, giving Heredia some work.
Since the homer in the first inning, Klesko has grounded out and fouled out. Ball 1-2.
Both Chipper Jones and Klesko hit from an open stance. One of the differences is that Klesko closes and Jones still bails a little bit.
1-1 to him.
Those left-handers will make you stay open a little bit longer than you normally would.
A double, a single, and a walk, producing a run, and giving the Braves 2 on with nobody out as they bat in the 7th. Outside, 2-1. Chipper Jones at second, Fred McGriff at first. And the 2-1 pitch to Klesko. Cut on and missed.
That's what I was talking about just a moment ago. A little breaking ball that time by Heredia, and Klesko hits out of that open stance, pulled out a little bit that time, bailed a little bit on that breaking ball.
Count runs out full to him. There's no question it was a big win last night for Florida, and somewhat frustrating the way it unfolded for Atlanta. But they have been in so many postseason situations with the advantage and also having to come back. I mean, just consider last year. They came back from 3-1 against the Cardinals in the LCS and somehow let it slip away after leading 2-0 against the Yankees in the World Series. This one's popped back and makes the seats.
Well, that's why I felt that the Marlins would not be satisfied unless they left here with a sweep, which it doesn't look like they're going to get. A lot of teams, you go in, you start on the road, you say, if we can get a split here and go home, we're in good shape. That does not apply to the Atlanta Braves because their pitching staff, and all 3 of the guys, 4 of them now with Nagel, can shut you down.
The bases are loaded with nobody out.
Let's take a look at Chipper Jones and Ryan Klesko in the batter's box. And you see, they're both pretty close to the plate. Now watch, Ryan Klesko will close to here, and he stays there. And this ball's inside, and he gets it out of the ballpark. Chipper Jones kind of bails a little bit. He will step in the bucket a little bit. They both start about the same spot. Now watch his right foot. See, he pulls away, and that's why he's more susceptible to the outside pitch.
The infield moves in. Ball 1 to Lopez. Jones at third. McGriff at second. Klesko at first. Lopez has 1 career grand slam. He hit it earlier this year against the Reds. Out of play. In fact, he hit it against a name familiar to Atlanta fans, now in Cincinnati, Stan Belinda. It was Belinda who was on the mound in relief of Doug Drabek, who threw the pitch that Francisco Cabrera hit to break Jim Leyland's heart and break the heart of every baseball fan in Pittsburgh in Game 7 of the National League Championship Series in 1992. The 1-1. The grand slam Lopez hit against the Reds earlier this year was one of a dozen for Atlanta. And as you see, that was a major league record for one team in one season. Bases loaded, nobody out, infield in, 1-2 pitch, hit in the air to left. Eisenreich has it lined up. Chipper Jones tags. Eisenreich makes the catch. No play at the plate. And it's 7-0.
Chipper Jones, despite that sore heel, tagged and really busted down the line. When he got toward home plate, he was running rather gingerly. You're not going to take that big jump and hit home plate very hard. Joe, as you well know, anytime you're running, you stretch you make that big leap to the bag at first base and hit on your heel. Normally, that's the way you do it. Here again is that the tag by Jones. He's busting down the line, and as he gets to the plate, he pulls up a little bit. But every time you hit a ball and you run to first and you jump on that bag, it hurts all the more.
Bobby Dews, the third base coach, like the starter at a track meet, holding his arm up, watching for the ball to hit in Eisenreich's glove, and then giving him the go-ahead. Andrew Jones. One and one. Jones came on in the fifth. Chipper Jones told Jim Gray before the game that it is in fact stopping and starting, which puts the most stress on the injured foot. 1-2. This is Jones' second at bat. He fouled out the catcher Charles Johnson, pinch hitting for Michael Tucker in the fifth, and stayed in the game to play right field. This postseason so far not turning out for him the way last year did, when he homered in each of his first two World Series at-bats in Game 1 at Yankee Stadium. The 1-2 pitch. Hit hard and foul.
You know, the Braves, who are so heavily favored, I guess, in this series by everybody, Bob, in winning today to get back to even in the series, if indeed they do carry on and win here, the story tomorrow may be the error by Charles Johnson. After 170 games without an error, he makes an error here today, and that'll be the big story. One of the big stories, anyway.
Speaking of Johnson, he wants to visit with Heredia. It's always a story when Johnson commits an error or is guilty of a pass ball. But Jim Leyland knows that Alex Fernandez didn't have it today. And the way Tom Glavine is working these Marlin hitters over, you've got to believe if it wasn't one thing, it would have been another for Florida. They were not going to get out of here with the sweep.
Glavine's been outstanding today, and as Joe alluded to in the opening inning or the first couple of innings with Fernandez, he just didn't have the same velocity he had in his last outing against San Francisco.
Andrew Jones hits it into left field. Eisenreich can't get there. The runners had to hold to be sure, and they play it one base at a time. They're loaded again. Leland indicating he's going to make a double switch. So he stops to talk with Charlie Williams before he goes to the mound, and while all this is being unscrambled, we'll step aside for a break. Comes in to play first base, and Dalton will hit ninth. I don't know exactly what to make of this, but it must be a heck of a deal trying to negotiate your way through a doorway.
Looks like one of those new boom boxes.
Don't even have to hold it on your shoulder.
Oh, I'd like to see the dials on that baby.
Ready-made.
No, it's one of those boxes. Somebody just come up and they whack in the head. Boom! Boom box.
7-0 Braves in the 7th. And it could get worse for Florida. Blauser to the plate. He's 1 for 3. The bases loaded again. The only out of the inning, a sacrifice fly hit by Javi Lopez. Ball 1 to Blauser. Graffinino doubled. Chipper Jones singled him home. McGriff walked. Klesko walked. With the bases loaded, Lopez hit a sacrifice fly to left. Andrew Jones followed with a single. That loaded the bases again. 2 runs home. 3 men on. 1 out. 7-0 Atlanta. The infield looks for the double play. And they might get it. Bonilla's coming home. That's 1. Johnson to first with a strong arm. And the ball goes into right field. Dalton is contending that Blauser interfered, and he may be right. The plate umpire, Charlie Williams, comes out and says absolutely. Blauser ran out of the baseline, interfered with the throw, and he grants them the double play. Bobby Cox has an argument.
Well, he doesn't really have an argument.
He's putting up an argument, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's much less vociferous than it would be if this were a close game.
Right.
He can accept this outcome here.
You can see he's running on the grass. You have to run inside the box the last few feet. He's running inside the grass.
So the double play ends the inning. 2-run score. It's 7-0 Braves after 7.
Well, the reason that he is called out is because you can see he's running on the inside. You have to get in this box if a play is being made on you from home plate. If a play is being made, the ball hits him. So whenever the ball hits you, they're going to call you out. A lot of times they will not automatically call you out if you don't interfere. But when the ball hits you, they will automatically call you out. You can see right there, he calls him out. Darren Dalton's telling you he's running inside the line.
Let's go to Jim Gray, who talked to Bobby Cox about it.
Well, Bob, I didn't speak to him, but when he came back into the dugout, he was talking to his coaches, and I overheard him say, hey, I know he's right. I know Charlie Williams is right. However, he says it's physically impossible to do what he wants him to do. He says he's going to have to call everybody out because if that's interference, everybody who runs the baseline is interfering. Bob?
Reminiscent, not exactly the same play, but reminiscent of a more important play in the 1969 World Series where J.C. Martin of the Mets was struck by a throw from, I believe, Pete Rickert, then the Baltimore pitcher, and it ended Game 4, and the Orioles contended that Martin was out of the baseline, or out of that box. And the key is, as you put it, Joe, it's only when a play is being made on you from behind. No one requires that you stay in that lane when you're running out a ground ball to shortstop or heading around first on an extra base hit. It doesn't come into play except when there's a play from behind you, from the catcher's spot, or the pitcher fielding a ball in front of the mound.
That's exactly right, because that was interference. It's not interference if you're running down there on the ground ball to shortstop, and that's what Bobby Cox is saying. Everyone runs in there, and he's right. But the rules say you have to get out of there if a play is being made.
Eisenreich with a check swing roller toward Jones, charges and throws, and gets him on a nice play. So Eisenreich playing for Moises Alou, who was out with an injured left hand and wrist, sustained last night trying to scale the wall, chasing after Ryan Klesko's opposite field home run. Eisenreich now 0 for 3. Johnson 0 for 2, robbed of a hit on a diving play by Blauser at shortstop in the 5th. In case you're just joining us, and many folks just getting home from work at this time of the day around the country, Jim Leland can only hope Moises Alou is available to him for Friday's Game 3.
Let me show you why Bobby Cox says it's almost impossible. Now, he's going to start here. Now, he's not going to run over here and then run down the line. You automatically start inside. You see that where he is. And when you're running inside, you're going to be interfering with the throw from the catcher or the pitcher, and that's exactly what happened there. But it's hard, as Bobby said, to get outside the line, especially from the right-handed hitter's batter's box, and run in the proper frame.
Glavine's 1-2 to Johnson. Misses the inside corner.
When I played in Cincinnati and Johnny Bench was the catcher, they'd sacrifice a guy to second base. Bench would intentionally hit the guy in the back, and they'd have to call the runner back to first base and the runner out because it's interference.
Well, there's a risky play.
Well, he did.
You got to be pretty sure of how accurate your arm is. Now, in Bench's case, few people would have more reason to be sure.
A lot of lumpy people over in the league at that time, I'll bet you, in the back area.
Leland's going to get Greg Zaun, the backup catcher, a little bit of work after Johnson has this at bat.
Have that guy taking target practice at you. You know, Joe, the natural instinct for a hitter is that ball you see Charles Johnson get nailed with the foul tip. If you hit the ball, you come up with a base hit, you're going to head outside the line so you can make your turn at first. There's that last foul ball. Oh,
well, Charlie probably wished he'd have taken him out a little sooner.
Or still had the shin guards on, one of the two. Ooh.
Glavine in total control. The 3-2 pitch, foul back.
To finish up that story, Joe, on the baselines, I think a lot of hitters do it on purpose anyway. I mean, on a bunt attempt, to sacrifice whatever, they'll run inside there to draw a bad throw anyway, or to impede the vision of the first baseman. A lot of times, as you said, you get away with it.
That's Glavine's third walk. Regional NFL action coming your way on Sunday at noon Eastern with the NFL on NBC. Then among the games you might see, Dan Marino and the Dolphins taking on the Jets, and what a job Bill Parcells has done in New York in year one of his program there. The Bills go against Bledsoe and the Pats, or the Bengals face the Oilers, and football is followed by Game 5 of this series. And a Brave victory, which seems to be just around the corner here in this game, assures us of a Game 5 in the series.
As I said before, Glavine never changes his pattern. You'd think with a 7-0 lead that he would just concentrate on throwing strikes, even getting more of the middle of the plate. He doesn't pitch that way. They do not vary the way that they pitch according to the score. They just pitch. They want to get you out.
1-1 to White, who's grounded out and struck out. Strikeouts, 3 walks, 2 hits allowed by Glavine. Mike Cather in the bullpen.
A couple of key double plays turned by the Braves infield for Glavine today in the 4th and in the 5th.
Both hits yielded by Glavine belong to the second baseman, Kurt Abbott, who singled softly to center in the 4th and then grounded a double over the first base bag, going the opposite way in the 6th. Pretty much what he and Javi Lopez had in mind, but he doesn't get the call.
Well, there again, I'm telling you, the umpires are not giving him that pitch off the plate. Bobby Cox, of course, is interested. And you look at the shadow. That ball is actually outside.
Now the 3-2. And we'll do it all over again.
That pitch is off the plate, too, but, I mean, he's going to go after it. He just can't lay off. And it's really weird because, again, you think he doesn't want to walk anybody. See, that pitch is off the plate. See how he reaches for it? But that's the way Glavine pitches, and he does not change.
tip not held. Still 3-2. Off day tomorrow. Saunders versus Smoltz in Game 3 when we get to Florida. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon at the home of the Marlins. Right side, headed for the seats, out of play. We mentioned this last night. Florida had the best home record of any team in baseball during the regular season. They were 52-29. If Florida should win this series, it would be an upset, but not a fluke. Despite today's score, they have shown all year long that head-to-head, they can more than hold their own with the Braves. They've won 9 of 13 coming in.
And there's no doubt that they gained a lot of confidence if they needed any more from last night's victory. The fact that they were able to defeat Maddox here in Atlanta.
But Glavine, a different story today. Another foul as White continues to battle him. Kevin Brown was not at his absolute best last night against Maddox, but good enough to win. Today, Alex Fernandez, who will also be the game's 6th starter in this series if it goes that far, had nothing.
As the first pitch he is thrown in the middle like he was trying to throw a strike in this entire at-bat.
Hit toward left center field. Lofton sprinting into the gap, and he can't get it. It'll roll to the wall and spoil the shutout in all likelihood. Charles Johnson being waved home. Meanwhile, a play at third, and what was Devon White thinking? What was he thinking?
Well, with a 7-0 lead, when he hit the ball, you've got to play it safe. Your run really doesn't mean a lot. But here again, he gets a fastball over the middle of the plate, and he finds the gap in left center field. Charles Johnson hustles around to score, but he takes a look. He thought they were going to throw to the plate, I believe. He looked to see if Johnson was going. He saw he was going, and unfortunately for him, he made the wrong decision.
Even if they were going to make a play at the plate, it doesn't matter.
No, it's a bad decision.
He didn't look like he was running full bore, Joe. When he got to second base, he looked like he slowed down coming into the bag. And then going into third, he just didn't look like he was running wide open.
Here's a veteran with loads of postseason experience. Hit the big grand slam in Game 3 of the Division Series. 7-time Gold Glove winner, but not a moment to be proud of here.
And again, as he came into second base, he looked like he really slowed down. And then when he hit the bag, picked his gait up again, but too late by then. And a good relay throw by Kenny Lofton.
After a conference on the mound, Glavine works to Dutch Dalton. Dalton's first at-bat. Two outs, nobody on now, and a run home. Glavine's shutout was spoiled as White gets credit for the RBI on the double. But then White did him a favor, running himself into the second out of the inning at third base. Two and one. That misses. 3 balls and a strike. White trying to explain to Cangelosi what went on. John says, yeah, I know. Blows a bubble. I'm here for you, buddy.
I might have done the same thing if I was in your position.
Although I hope not. In their full count. You saw Dalton's figures for the season a moment ago, but not included on that line. A remarkable one. Somehow he's hit 8 triples this year, despite the bad wheels after 9 knee surgeries. Foul back toward us. 8 triples this year for Dalton. 17 in the previous 13 seasons for him.
Well, you have to remember the ballpark in Florida has some nooks and crannies up there, and he can drive the ball to right center and left center, and it's very deep out there.
Ball 4. You know, are there any places that have nooks but not crannies? Or maybe crannies but not nooks?
Well, let's say angles.
There probably
They have
is.
weird angles out there.
Yeah, I think Dalton hit them only into the crannies. Well, the shutout is history, and now so is Glavine. But he did a heck of a job, and in comes Cather as we step aside. Moments ago, as Glavine left, he acknowledges the appreciative response from the crowd at Turner Field, playing the role of stopper today. After Maddox couldn't beat the Marlins in the opener, he does, at least apparently, in Game 2.
And the fans know how important today's game is.
Kurt Abbott, who got 2 of the 3 hits off Glavine, a single and a double, faces Mike Cather now. Dalton, who walked, is at first with 2 out. A run home in the 8th. And a called strike 0-2. So Glavine goes 7 2/3. He struck out 5, he walked 4, he allowed 3 hits. 1 run, and Dalton, of course, at first base is his responsibility if this inning should produce anything more for Florida. Cather's 1-2 pitch struck him out. So Cather, who pitched 2 hitless innings in the division series, getting his feet wet in postseason against Houston, comes in and fans have it, and we'll be back after these messages from your local station. Evening approaching at Turner Field. The lights have been on for a while. Greg Colburn comes off the bench to hit for Mike Cather, so Cather will have faced only the 1 man. Ed Vosberg remains on the hill for the Marlins. Bottom of the 8th, 7-1, and fouled off. During the regular season, Colburn was 8 for 16 as a pinch hitter. Toward the hole, base hit. Colburn opens the Atlanta 8th with an opposite field single. Now Lofton, a bunt single, a foul out, and a pair of strikeouts, leaving him at 3 for 22 for this postseason. Dalton playing behind Colburn at first, with the Braves up by 6. Roller toward Dalton, foul.
Both of the strikeouts to Lofton today against the left-handers, Leiter, and then Felix Heredia really got nasty with him. Some sidearm fastballs to get him looking.
It seems strange to say this of a guy who hit .333, but Lofton at this point, right now, does not have the same dynamic effect on a ball game as he seems capable or seemed capable of having for the last several years. Fair to say, Joe?
Well, I think that what you're seeing is the fact that they're pitching him pretty well, I think. They're staying in, and these left-handers are awfully tough. But I still think he still has some hesitancy about his groin. I don't think he's letting it all go or letting it all hang out in the outfield or running the bases.
tailspin at the plate right now. Fouls it off. Well, check these figures for stolen bases with the Indians. 66, 70, 60, and that was in the strike-shortened season of 94, 54, and then 75. This year, he stole 27 and was thrown out 20 times.
I always thought at Cleveland he was an electrifying player, Bob, in that leadoff spot. He caused the defense to make mistakes against him. And again, we haven't seen him a lot this year, and it's probably not fair, but he just hasn't been the impact player that he was at Cleveland.
And he strikes out for the third time today. NBC's coverage of the National League Championship Series is brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. By Pringles, so fresh once you pop, you can't stop. And by the United States Postal Service.
Bob, we also talked about he's faced Leiter, Heredia, and now Vosburg. These are not your typical left-handers. They're all pretty nasty, and they're the ones that have struck him out. So they pitched him well, and sometimes you have to give the pitchers a little credit.
That's what I say. It's not fair, really, because we haven't seen that much of Kenny Lofton. I mean, he's still a solid player, and we talked yesterday about the fact that he may not be here next year. That remains to be seen, too. But wherever he goes, I mean, he's going to make an impact. He's going to be a good player.
It's one of the realities of modern baseball that even good teams, division-winning teams, pennant-winning teams, see their rosters change for payroll reasons. Deals are made or players are allowed to leave simply for monetary considerations. Vosburg is working to Greg Zahn, the backup catcher. Leland getting him a bit of work with the game out of hand. 0-2 the count to Tony Graffinino, who doubled in his only time at bat and scored a run back in the 7th. Graffinino follows Lofton's strikeout with a K of his own. So Colburn remains at first now with 2 out. And the ovation is for Chipper Jones, who's 3 for 4 with a homer and a pair of singles and 3 RBIs. Mentioned earlier that the 4 remaining teams, Marlins, Braves, Indians, Orioles, have 4 of the 5 highest payrolls in baseball, and the Yankees, who almost made it this far and were the defending world champions, have the highest payroll. That is not a coincidence. And it's been that way the past few years, and it becomes impossible to deny that the smaller market teams who once had a chance with good management and with a little bit of luck, the smaller market teams have almost no chance to go all the way anymore. A called strike, 2-1.
They talk about it, Bob, with those clubs, the smaller market or the lower salary teams that stay in the races. I mean, stay in and make a go of it in the month of July, August, and even into September sometimes. But at that time, when it comes down to crunch time, I mean, it's the clubs with the talent. I mean, the guys that pay the big money and get the free agents, they're there, and it's true. It's a fact. That's it. You can wish and hope and do all you want.
The Astros had a very low payroll and made it into postseason, but only because they were in the horrible National League Central. And although Pittsburgh deserves a tip of the cap for their improvement with that tiny payroll of theirs and staying in the race, you got to remember they didn't play 500 for the year trying to catch the Astros, who were barely over 500. Oh. That was a function of the division, really. Hits a third. Bonilla goes to second for the force, and the Braves are done in their half of the 8th. 7-1 Atlanta. 3 outs to go. The first couple of Atlanta baseball, Ted Turner and Jane Fonda. Last time we caught a glimpse of Jane, she was catching a bit of a catnap, it appeared, but she's come alive with the Braves in front 7-1 and on their way to evening this series before we head for Florida.
Wouldn't it be Fonda Turner? Jane Fonda Turner?
I guess. You know, I think when you have a name that's that established, that remains your name, more or less.
I'll be right back, boys. I'll go and check.
Good. Head on down there, Uecker, and give us a first-hand report. Mark Wohlers. The ERA raises some eyebrows. And the fact that he's 5-7 tells you that he lets some saves slip away, even though he did save 33. That's the only way a closer is involved in that many decisions, when he doesn't do his job at least a handful of times. But on the other side, he struck out 92 in 69 1/3.
We don't have to tell anybody about Wohlers' fastball. He's one of those guys in the 90s all the time, consistently.
Renteria starting it against him in the ninth. This obviously not a save situation with the comfortable 6-run lead. Danny Bautista is in left field. Klesko, of course, was the starter. Hit a big home run in the first inning. But Bautista is in for defense. Sheffield and Bonilla follow Renteria in the ninth. Glavine went 7 2/3. Cather for a batter, and now Wohlers, who misses the strike zone 3 straight times to start the ninth.
Hey, you. I want to go back to that. Since Ted bought the marriage license, shouldn't his name be on there someplace?
See you guys in a minute.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Ball 4. Renteria heads for first. Just in time, a change of topic. This is the rest of the NLCS schedule. 8 Eastern for Game 3. Smoltz and Saunders. Saturday is a night game. Sunday afternoon after our football coverage. There's Saunders. Those figures are remarkable. The rest of the league had him figured out. Not so Atlanta. Wohlers to Sheffield. And he still hasn't thrown a strike.
Getting a little anxious, a little nervous here in Atlanta.
Well, before this inning, Wohlers had thrown just 14 live pitches since September 27th. There's a strike. Alan Embry, who became a daddy yesterday. His wife Melanie giving birth to their first child, Alan Christopher. Embry, one of a pair, warming up in the Brave bullpen. Sheffield whacks it to center. Lofton's right there.
A little more relaxed and a little more understandable today. Bobby Cox. Stayed nice and easy before the game today. Had a nice chat with him. And today we just messed up last night. Nothing else to say.
More understandable today? Was he speaking Stingalese yesterday?
No, he was, you know, well, you were with him.
I was there for part of it. I understood every word he said.
Absolutely.
Here's the pitch to Bonilla.
Stingalese, I got you. Casey Stengel. Well, we were talking about him the other day. So the first guy you start out with is a catcher. Because if you don't have a catcher, the ball keeps going back to the screen. Is that what he said?
That's what he said. When the Mets drafted a catcher in 1962 with their first pick, you got to have a catcher. Otherwise, everything goes to the backstop. Quickly 0-2. Bonilla, who hit .297 for the year with 17 home runs, doesn't have a hit today. Which is true of everybody in their lineup, except Abbott with a single and a double, and Devon White with an RBI double, which came in the 8th.
Well, these Atlanta fans questioned by a lot of people about being loyal and into the games. They're in there today.
But Bobby Bonilla isn't in there anymore. Called out on strikes. And Tom Glavine is the Chevrolet player of the game. And the numbers tell you why. Interesting little scene there at home plate there. Bobby Bonilla took strike 3, and he didn't walk back to the dugout. He took his shin guard off, wrapped it around his bat, still while in the batter's box, and then walked off. After the double switch, the pitcher's spot is the 5 slot in the order. So now Craig Counsell comes off the bench. Mark Wohlers an out away from putting a ribbon on the 9th career postseason victory for Tom Glavine. They don't contest him, and so Renteria just trots down to second base. McGriff was way behind him.
Defensive indifference, or as it's better known, who cares?
So he doesn't get credit for the steal.
Nope.
But I think he should take that base because that eliminates the 4th out.
And it's popped to the right side. McGriff into foul ground. A split in Atlanta and on to Florida. The National League Championship Series continues on Friday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 Pacific. Game 3. John Smoltz against Tony Saunders, as we told you. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific on Friday. On NBC tonight, must-see comedy is back, starting with the Tony Danza Show. Then it's Built to Last, Third Rock from the Sun, the series premiere of Fred Savage's new show, Working, followed by Law and Order. For Jim Gray, Joe Morgan, and Bob Uecker, I'm Bob Costas. This has been a presentation of NBC Sports, home of the 1997 World Series.